For the past 30 years, the world's most powerful radio telescopes have been scanning space, searching for signals that might come from alien civilizations. This project is called SETI, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. One night in their laboratory in Utah, the young girl Sil is locked in a room to be killed with cyanide gas. Xavier, the head of the project, watches her with tears in his eyes and whispers an apology. But Sil doesn't allow this. She breaks the glass and manages to escape from the gas chamber. She is so fast that the gas can't catch up to her. She jumps onto a moving train and gets away. Inside the train, she sees images of a strange creature. She hits a homeless man who tries to approach her with such force that the man dies. Sil doesn't care and takes the man's clothes to hide her lab coat. When the train stops at the station, Sil gets off and wanders around a shop inside the station to understand how capitalism works. Then she steals a bag from a pile of luggage belonging to a man and this time boards another train. She moves to the passenger car, goes to the dining section and tries to steal money, and in the kitchen, she takes as much food and random items as she can fit into the bag. She hides when someone approaches. Now that she has supplies, she sits in a compartment. She eats while watching the small television she took from the bag, acting as if she's doing these things for the first time. Throughout her journey, she eats as much as she can. But it's hard to sleep because of the nightmares. She also starts to notice strange bulges pulsing under her skin. Suddenly, a bunch of tentacles emerge from her body. When the attendant comes to check on her again, he finds a disgusting cocoon on the ceiling and is immediately killed. Meanwhile, Xavier and his guards find the murdered homeless man and realize that Selin could be anywhere now. They know that if they inform the police, they'll be faced with strange questions. That's why they decide to assemble a special team. Dan, who can sense beings and emotions thanks to his empathy, is a cultural behavior specialist from Harvard's Department of Anthropology. Dr. Stefan, molecular biologist Laura, and Preston, a freelancer who deals with the government's problems, are gathered by Xavier in his office, where he explains to them what has happened. After sending messages into space for 30 years, the SETI project finally received a response from an alien. The message sent was a new DNA sequence containing friendly instructions to combine it with human DNA. They inject this sequence into a human egg, and only one survives. Codenamed Sil, a hybrid that transforms into a young girl in just 1 month. For security reasons, they keep her in a cage and in isolation. However, after 3 months, Sil starts having nightmares and mysterious swellings appear under her skin. As a result, the project is cancelled and a decision is made to kill Sil. But she manages to escape, and now the team's mission is to find and kill her. Back to the train, after killing the attendant, Sil emerges from the cocoon as an adult woman. She puts on the attendant's clothes and fanny pack, gets off the train in Los Angeles, and can't help but watch the children on the street. After doing some shopping and buying various things, including a stylish dress, Sil checks into a motel. Here, by watching television, she learns about things like hair dye, adult films, and the recent earthquake in the area. Meanwhile, the team is called in to examine the attendant's corpse. Dan can tell that Sil was scared, but felt no remorse. Laura points out that Sil's excessive eating is to store calories for a purpose. Stefan, realizing that the disgusting substances on the ceiling are a cocoon, confirms that Sil's body is undergoing a transformation. Preston also instructs the security guards to identify anyone using the attendant's credit card. The team immediately heads to Los Angeles, the train's final stop, and checks into a hotel. Xavier, on the other hand, orders his researchers to move the laboratory here as well. Because Laura has an idea. This time, she wants to grow a new alien specimen without combining it with human DNA and study the creature's structure. Once the laboratory is ready, Laura begins working on the alien DNA. However, during the experiment, the camera connection is lost. With Preston's help, she decides to replace the camera herself. But just as she's about to do this, the alien DNA activates and begins to grow rapidly. They need to close the box or else the creature will escape. In their haste, they lose a screw and the creature starts to get out. Xavier refuses to open the door due to the risk of possible contamination. According to protocol, he must burn the room and everything inside it. While Laura and Preston try to push the creature back, the rest of the team shoves Xavier aside and opens the door, allowing their friends to get out before the room is reduced to ashes. In the evening, Sil puts on more ordinary clothes and asks the motel clerk where she can find a good man. The clerk tells her about a nearby club and asks for her credit card to cover the room expenses. When the card is given to the clerk, the team learns Sil's location. At the club, Sil tries to approach a man but is blocked by another woman. She follows the woman she sees as a rival to the restroom and kills her in a stall. Then she looks for another man and finds Robbie. Robbie gladly takes her to his home. When Robbie tries to get intimate with her, Sil changes her mind because she senses something in the man's body. When Robbie refuses to let her go, Sil kills him because of his insistence. The team arrives at the motel and the security camera footage is sent to the lab. The clerk tells them about the club. When they arrive at the club, they find the body in the restroom and remember that Sil left with one of the club's regulars. So the team starts searching for Robbie. When the team arrives at Robbie's house, they find nothing but the man's corpse. Laura says that Sil tried to mate, but changed her mind because she realized Robbie was not suitable. The medication they find in the bathroom proves that Robbie is diabetic. This means that Sil can detect genetic defects in potential mates. Meanwhile, Sil has stolen Robin's car. However, since both the team and the police are at the motel and the club, she leaves the area. She spends the night sleeping in the car, plagued by more nightmares. In the morning, she heads towards Santa Monica, but the car runs out of gas and she gets stranded on the road. While trying to cross the street, a driver doesn't see her and accidentally hits her, then drives off. But an eyewitness named John immediately calls an ambulance and Silly is taken to the hospital. Since John likes to help, he handles the registration process and pays the expenses with his own card. When the doctor examines Silly, he is surprised at how quickly she is healing. He also notices the throbbing swellings on her back. Upon this, Silly decides to leave the hospital before her secret is revealed. On the way, she runs into John. Silly realizes that he is a good and healthy person and asks him to take her to his home. At John's house, Sil is impatient and immediately drags him to the jacuzzi. Turning back to the team, they manage to enhance the security camera footage. Sil's face is still not clear. However, it is obvious that she is in the most fertile period of her life. This means that the woman could have many children in a short time by being with multiple men at once. They are facing an extremely aggressive species, and this could mean the end of the human race. The police finally find Robin's car, and the team heads to Santa Monica. At the same time, the doctor reports that he found strange results in Sil's blood sample. At the hospital, they access John's card information and immediately go to John's house. Sil hears the team entering the house and to kill John, holds him under the jacuzzi. Then she hides in the bushes. By the time the team comes outside, it's already too late for everything. They still don't have any footage they can use to search. Since there's nothing else they can do that night, they decide to return to the hotel and rest. The next day, they plan to surveil the club. Meanwhile, Sil runs away from the house, steals a car from a random woman, and returns to John's house to see if the team has left. By reading Xavier's lips, she realizes they'll be at the club. After learning their location, Sil goes to the house of the woman whose car she stole. The woman is tied up in bed. Sil spends the night there and has another nightmare. This time, she sees herself together with Preston. In the morning, she comes up with a plan to get rid of the team. First, she tears off her own finger since she can regenerate a new one. Then she takes one of the woman's fingers and throws it in the trash. Then she goes to a gas station, fills several cans with gasoline, and while surveying the area, she finds a building with a high-voltage transformer. In the evening, the team keeps watch on the cabin, but nothing happens. When Dan steps outside for some fresh air, Sil appears in front of him for a few seconds, then runs away and gets into the car where she hid the gasoline cans, together with the woman she kidnapped. The team chases her all the way to the outskirts of town. But this is all part of Sil's plan. Sil drives the car toward the transformer building and jumps out of the vehicle just seconds before it crashes. A huge explosion engulfs the entire vehicle in flames. Sil, however, escapes the scene in another car she had left there earlier. The body of the kidnapped woman is severely burned. When the team sees a thumb stuck in the door, they believe it belongs to Sil. Meanwhile, Sil returns to the woman's house, dies, and cuts her hair. At the same time, the team goes out for drinks to celebrate. Sil also goes to the hotel bar and runs into Laura in the restroom. She takes advantage of this opportunity to take Laura's perfume. Laura says she's tired and mentions she'll go up to her room. With a little push from Dan and Stefan, Preston follows her. In the elevator, Preston encounters Sil and notices the perfume. Sil gets off on the same floor as Preston and intends to use him as a new potential father. However, when she reaches the door, she hears that Preston is with Laura. Stealing the hotel staff's keys, Sil enters the room next to the couple and, while listening to them through the wall, she experiences new visions. Back at the bar, Stefan tries to flirt with a few girls but gets rejected and decides to call it a night. When he enters his room, he finds Sil inside. When Sil pulls him onto the bed, Stefan doesn't question anything. As Sil takes Stefan's seed, her strange visions continue, and these visions are also reflected to Dan. Dan senses that Sil is in the building. Dan approaches Stefan's room and senses Sil's evil presence. He then calls Laura and Preston for help. Meanwhile, Sil has finished with Stefan and feels a new life growing inside her. When Stefan realizes this, he panics. But before he has a chance to scream, he is killed by Sil. At that very moment, the team reaches the room and Sil transforms fully into her alien form and escapes by passing through the wall. The team goes after her and sees that Sil has even managed to open a steel door. They take various weapons, including flamethrowers, from Preston's car and enter the tunnel Sil went through. And here, they find the body of the hotel maintenance worker. They also see that the hotel's manhole cover is open. So Sil has escaped through the sewers. The team enters the sewers, Preston leads the way and fires the flamethrower at every corner. Dan is confused because he can't sense which direction Sil went. The team splits up and it turns out to be a bad idea. Sil is hiding underwater. When Xavier is left alone, she leaps out of the water and kills him, and escapes through a fissure caused by the earthquake. When Sil emerges from the water, Dan senses her presence again, and the team passes through the fissure and reaches a large cavern. Unaware, they move forward without seeing that Sil has given birth to a boy here. The child is feeding on rats. The floor of the cavern is filled with oil, and the team once again splits up to search the area. Dan, climbing the rocks, finds the child and tries to communicate with him gently. But the child attacks and knocks Dan down. Laura, wanting to help Dan, also falls into the oil pit. The child fully transforms into its alien form and attacks Dan again. Dan burns him with the flamethrower, but he himself is left hanging on the edge of the missing rock. The child also falls into the oil pit and a huge fire breaks out. The fire is close to Laura. Fear gives Laura the strength to climb out of the pit, and she reaches Dan. Meanwhile, Preston is fighting Sil, who hears his son's death screams. One of Sil's tentacles grabs Preston and tries to strangle him, but Preston cuts the tentacle with his knife and frees himself. Then he pulls out his gun and shoots Sil repeatedly until she falls off the cliff into the burning oil below. Preston and Laura run over to help Dan, but Sil from below grabs Dan's legs and tries to pull him down. In response, Preston empties his shotgun and blows Sil's head apart, saving Dan. After pulling Dan up to safety, the three of them exit the sewer and finally relax, thinking that everything is over. One of the rats in the cave is eating the tentacle that Preston cut off, and as the tentacle begins to transform it, it grows a new tentacle and starts killing the other rats.